Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga, website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Hey, coming up, Super Tuesday, just in a couple days. Early voting ended on Friday. I got my voting in on Friday, thank goodness. Super Tuesday coming up. And guess what? We've got a sitting Texas Real Estate Commissioner on the line here, and he's running for Railroad Commissioner, Weston Martinez. Mr. Martinez, you on the line with us?
Absolutely.
Good morning. How we doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I just put a tweet out telling everybody to get their motor running this morning and tune in and listen to you. You know, I was in Dallas last night for an event, got home about 2 in the morning, and been up since 6, working hard.
You're running and gunning, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about, your background. And by the way, I voted for you on Friday, I'm happy to say.
Well, so I tell you what, I really appreciate it, and we've been thankful that citizens across the state of Texas have really been jumping on board with the campaign. Obviously, being a conservative leader is important in Texas, and people recognize that I have an oil and gas background history. So, just like a doctor, they got to know what they're operating on. So I'm very thankful for that. It means so much to me.
Exactly. Well, let's tell the folks that don't know, maybe get a little bit on your background, kind of what you're doing currently at Texas Real Estate Commission, a little bit about your oil and gas background, and then we'll kind of get in more to the railroad commissioner race.
Absolutely. So it's a fourth-generation Texan from San Antonio, Texas. My wife and I met in high school. So I married my high school sweetheart. We have 5 children, and we've been married now for 16 years. And she went to Texas A&M in College Station, and I went to Texas A&I on a bull riding scholarship. Most people in Texas love to hear about that. And from there, had a 20-year career in the telecom world at Southwestern Bell AT&T, and have had a great time in that career, and have dealt with the different issues with the FCC and PUC in the regulatory world, but have also been involved in politics from a very young age. And worked on the Republican Party of Texas for a couple of years, worked at all the different levels on different campaigns on the grassroots motivation and, sticking to our guns. I actually am I know a lot of your listeners have heard about the liberal Julian Castro. I'm the guy in San Antonio that started the recall election against him whenever he started that first bathroom ordinance.
Sure.
And when he gave the speech to the DNC convention a few years ago, I'm the individual that gave the rebuttal speech to his DNC speech. And so have been at the forefront of every conservative fight that you can talk about, especially in Texas, but and beyond, and have always just pushed the message of conservative principles without compromise, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. Governor Perry appointed me to the Real Estate Commission 4 years ago, so I've been serving the state of Texas in that commission as that position as a statewide commissioner. And be the individual that is putting conservative principles, small business principles enacted in that capacity, where we oversee all of the licensing of realtors like yourself. I know you're a realtor. I checked you're in good standing before I came on the show. And also the appraisers and also the inspectors. And so conservatives across Texas, they know that I'm a conservative. They know that commissioner and the commission. Importantly, they know that we tell people about the fact that we started a services company selling frack water in the Eagle Ford Shale. So they understand that we understand the oil and gas industry. And because of those things, they really know that we're ready to do the job on day one and ready to serve the citizens of Texas in this capacity as railroad commissioner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was what was really important to me about your candidacy for railroad commissioner is your knowledge of that, obviously your strong conservatism and your strong leadership skills, and like you say, taking the fight to the folks that need to be in the battle. And, look, folks, we do need someone that's going to fight for us, in political office, no matter what the office is. And by the way, the railroad commissioner office is an extremely important office, and there may be a little bit of misconception about what the railroad commissioner office does. A lot of people think it has to do with railroads, but that is not the truth. Railroads are under TxDOT and have been for some time. By and large, what the Railroad Commissioner Office has to do with is dealing with land and minerals, oil and gas industry, and so and then EPA and government restrictions, and so we need someone with that kind of knowledge. So let's get into those particulars a little bit, and then the race a little bit more.
Sure. Well, and again, you really summed it up really well earlier. And what we tell people on the campaign trail is, this race is about the future of Texas, and it's about how do we put people back to work in the oil and gas industry, and how do we actually articulate a message against the liberals like Obama. And I know that every one of us are so excited that we are now in the glorious year of the last year of the Obama presidency, and we're so excited that he's going to be gone come January 20th. But we also know that regardless of who gets elected to president, and we know it's going to be a Republican, we know it's going to take time to get all those liberals that were appointed by Obama out of the form of government. And so in that situation, I tell people, Mike, winning isn't luck. It's knowing how to fight. And in this situation, I'll tell you, people across Texas, it doesn't matter if you're, where you live. We want to make sure that they know that the oil and gas industry impacts about 40% of the Texas economy. So whether you're building homes or whether you're giving a sermon on Sunday and taking care of a flock in between, it truly has an impact on your environment. And so we want to make sure that people understand that. And once they understand that, then we talk about, very simply how, oil and gas production, it's up 300% in the last couple of years with all of the horizontal fracking going on. But our pipeline installation is only up 33%. So it doesn't take an economist to know that I don't have enough pipe in the ground to get my product to market.
Right.
And part of that is due to regulations by the EPA and different things that take place where they try to slow you down. And you've got environmentalist groups that don't get it, that are not out there trying to actually protect the environment. They're just trying to be obstructionists. And so when we're out there, we want to make sure that people know that. I'll give you a classic example. Your listeners, I'm sure, have heard about the Clean Air Act and about Obama and about the Paris Agreement and all these different things.
Sure.
They talk about attainment. They talk about emissions. And a very good fun fact for your listeners to tell all their liberal friends is that in Texas, the emissions that the gas passed from cows, cattle emissions, is greater than all of the emissions in the oil and gas industry in the state of Texas. And I know that's shocking to hear on a Sunday morning before people have had lunch. But if the EPA was really in touch and really was going to do what they say they're going to do, they would realize how ridiculous they sound and, how out of touch they really are. They have actually come out and said that fracking doesn't cause groundwater contamination. Now, I will tell you, if Obama's liberal EPA is going to come out and from the top state that fracking is not causing groundwater contamination, I would submit to you that it can't be done. So we have to make sure that we're articulating a message that is wrapped in truth, wrapped in solid science. When we're talking about the oil and gas industry in y'all's area, seismicity is a big issue.
Sure.
And, all of the earthquakes that take place. And SMU put out a study just recently, and it's very interesting that the railroad commissioners today took that study. They went in and had their experts analyze it, and then they held basically a public town hall, kind of a good government sort of a process, which I really think was the right thing to do. And what they showed people is that the SMU study is not causing earthquake issues in your area. Now, SMU is projecting that it is, but when you get into the science of it, oversimplify it, let me just tell you, our groundwater, drinking water, is about 4,500 feet back up to the surface. So that's the depth of our groundwater drinking that we actually drink and consume. And the fracking that's taking place is at about 15,000 feet. So about 3 miles down in the earth is where we're getting our fracking, most of our horizontal fracking is coming from. And then the seismicity issues are actually taking place far beyond that. So when we talk about what's happening, when people really understand that in Texas, the way that the formation is made, the way that God has made it, it really is not really possible for there to be issues. But the Railroad Commission still has been very prudent, and they have taken the information from the SMU study, and they're trying to put the public first and make good practices. So your listeners will be glad to know, because I promise you the Dallas Morning News isn't going to tell you this. The Railroad Commission has actually denied permits to several injection wells that have been requested for permit in your area. So here we have a agency that the EPA would say is all about drill, baby, drill, and I'm for that, but we're doing it with a conscience. So as we move forward in Texas, we have to make sure that that's what takes in place. And so that message is really resonating across the state of Texas for people voting for Weston Martinez.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're absolutely right. Obviously, we need the oil and gas industry, as you say. So much of Texas is not only grown and been based on it, but still needs it for the future, but doing it in the right way. And, of course, people are worried about the things that you had just talked about, the seismicity as well as, the fracking impacting our water. And, it's funny that you mentioned earlier as you were talking, it's ironic that some of the government regulations, some of the government agencies are targeting the fracking and then delaying some of the pipelines and some of the needs that we need to get the product to market, because the drilling is actually where the main impact is. Running it from there to actual market is less impactful. So it's ironic that they decide to make a stand on that and try to impede that versus the actual exploration and mining of the product.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. In this situation, sorry, you broke up there for a second. In this situation, if Raven Simone, I know your listeners are shocked that name's even going to be said on your program. If Raven Simone knew how much petroleum was part of her everyday life, these liberals are so out of touch with what's going on in the industry. And so production is very important. It's important to our Texas economy. The fracking has provided so much into our Texas economy just in the last couple of years, not to mention historically, that it's very much a fabric of our Texas economy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Let's talk a little bit. We've got maybe 3-4 minutes here to go. Let's talk a little bit about maybe you and some of the folks you're competing against, and maybe kind of draw some distinctions there, for folks. So as they're going in, if they haven't early voted and they're going in on Super Tuesday, some key factors kind of distinguishing you from the rest of the pack, rest of the contenders.
Sure. Well, and it's real exciting as we go across Texas, and you'll get a kick out of this. So, we got in the race at the 2 days before the filing, and, we've been involved obviously in lots of things before, but from the time we filed to today, we've driven right over 24,000 miles. So we have truly been burning up the asphalt as we have been from parts of Texas, just from all over. And it's been a great time visiting with people that really get it, like your listeners. They understand that in the race for railroad commissioner, one of the reasons why people are God is really blessing me with support across the state of Texas is, they look at they look at Weston Martinez and they say, man, here's a conservative guy with a backbone. Here's Weston Martinez, who actually has been on a statewide commission and understands the role of a commissioner and the role of a commission, and has served the citizens of Texas with honor. And here's a guy that actually has oil and gas background experience. In our services company selling frack water, I'll tell you what, there's not a more political thing in Texas besides water. I would submit the next political thing is right. Oil, because without the water, you're not going to get the oil. Right. So as people look at the race, there certainly is another conservative in the race. But the distinction is that I'm the conservative that has the actual oil and gas background experience. And so when we're out there on the campaign trail, it's really exciting. People also, you can't buy a race in Texas. And I know that a lot of people feel that in this race, there's also an individual that's, guys put $2 million into this race of his own money. Mm-hmm. And, I've outraised the guy by like 400%. So it's, and the guy, it's not like we've just been. It's very interesting to see how informed people are, and we're really thankful that as people look at Weston Martinez and they look at my race, social media truly has become an equalizer, not only in Texas but in the national media, and so people are much more in tune to what's going on. It's very easy to do a Google search or to get on Facebook and Twitter, and for people to see that, leaders like Kathy Adams, our former state party chairman and conservative leader, is supporting me. The current president of Texas Eagle Forum, Jonathan Saenz of Texas Values, who led the fight to get the pastor protection bill passed in our last legislative session, and also pushed and helped win and lead the fight against the HERO ordinance in Houston, Texas, and other folks just, like Matt Rinaldi in your area. We're very blessed to have Matt Rinaldi's endorsement in this particular race. Obviously, I think he's been a great legislator, and I wish we had 150 more like him.
Sure, absolutely.
So we're very thankful that, our message of, we're the conservative with experience, trusted conservative experience, is resonating with the people. And, God bless the other folks in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think you're absolutely right. And, I think there's sort of been an awakening maybe over the last, really 5 years nationally. People are starting to wake up and pay a little more attention to things, and that's a great thing. And unfortunately, we got to wrap things up. Look, folks, we've been talking here in our local politics segment to Weston Martinez, okay? He's running for the railroad commissioner job. He's been the sitting Texas real estate commissioner, and he's got oil and gas experience. Proven conservative, folks. Great guy. If you haven't checked out Weston Martinez, you need to do that. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga. See you next week. Neither the hosts nor the guests or contributors of the show Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga are attorneys, CPAs, tax advisors, or investment advisors, and are not providing legal advice during the course of the show. If you need professional legal advice or